On Christmas Eve in 1945, a family home in West Virginia caught fire during the night. The fire spread rapidly through the structure. 5 children were believed to be inside at the time. Emergency response was delayed due to multiple unexpected issues. Attempts to contact the fire department were unsuccessful initially. Neighbors reported unusual observations around the property earlier that evening. The fire eventually destroyed the house completely. When the site was examined afterward, something critical was missing. No remains of the 5 children were recovered from the debris. This absence raised immediate questions about what had actually happened. The case would go on to challenge every assumption about the fire itself. In December 1945, a large family home in West Virginia caught fire during the night. The fire spread rapidly through the structure while the family was inside. Several members managed to escape the burning house. However, 5 children were reported missing after the fire. No remains of those children were recovered from the scene. The absence of physical evidence raised immediate concern. The fire was initially treated as a tragic accident, but details surrounding the event did not fully align. Witness accounts and physical observations began to conflict. Questions emerged about whether all individuals were actually inside during the fire. What happened that night would remain unresolved for decades. In the hours leading up to the fire, the household followed a normal evening routine. Family members were accounted for within different areas of the house. The children were last known to be inside the upper section of the structure. No confirmed movement placed them outside before the fire began. At a later point in the night, the fire was first observed from within the house. Initial flames appeared to originate in a specific section before spreading upward. The progression from initial flame to full involvement occurred rapidly. No early suppression effort interrupted that spread. Attempts were made to reach individuals inside the structure. Those attempts were unsuccessful due to heat and visibility conditions. Access to upper sections became impossible within a short time. This prevented confirmation of movement inside those areas. No visual confirmation established whether individuals exited during the fire. The internal timeline from ignition to full structural involvement remained unobserved. This created a gap between presence and outcome. No external witness confirmed seeing individuals leave the structure. The fire continued to expand without interruption. By the time the structure was fully involved, interior conditions could no longer be assessed. The last confirmed position of the children remained inside the house. By the time emergency responders reached the property, the structure had already collapsed. Active flames had reduced most of the building to debris. No controlled firefighting had occurred during the early stages of the burn. This allowed the fire to progress through all sections of the house. Initial assessment focused on locating individuals believed to be inside. Investigators began examining the debris field shortly after daylight. The search concentrated on areas corresponding to the upper rooms. These were the last confirmed locations of the children. Standard procedure involved identifying remains within collapsed structures. Even in high-temperature fires, bone fragments are typically recoverable. Investigators expected to locate physical evidence within the debris. The search was conducted across multiple sections of the site. Material was moved and examined in layers. No identifiable remains were located during this process. This result did not match expected outcomes from similar incidents. No concentration of material indicated presence in specific areas. The debris did not show evidence of complete biological destruction. This introduced a contradiction between fire behavior and outcome. The absence of remains became the central anomaly. The incident shifted from fire reconstruction to unexplained absence. Once the fire subsided, the structure was reduced to debris. The site was examined after daylight. Conditions improved visibility. Investigators began assessing the remains of the building. The focus was placed on identifying physical evidence within the debris. This included expected remains from individuals believed to be inside. Search efforts concentrated on areas corresponding to interior rooms. The debris was examined systematically across multiple sections. No immediate findings confirmed the expected outcome. This absence became the central point of concern. No identifiable remains were recovered from the site. The intensity of the fire did not fully explain this result. Comparable fire cases typically produced detectable remains. This discrepancy required further evaluation. Investigators expanded the search parameters. Additional examination of debris layers did not change the outcome. No supporting evidence confirmed complete destruction of all remains. This introduced the possibility of an alternative sequence. The fire alone did not account for the absence. The case shifted from fire analysis to evidence inconsistency. This marked the beginning of a different investigative direction. The investigation expanded beyond the immediate fire analysis. Authorities began examining the possibility of incomplete destruction. Fire behavior was reviewed against known structural burn patterns. The intensity of the fire was reassessed in relation to expected outcomes. No consistent evidence supported complete destruction of all remains. This weakened the accidental fire explanation. Investigators then considered the possibility of survival. This required individuals leaving the structure before full involvement. No confirmed observation verified such movement. The timeline did not clearly document exit activity. Attention shifted toward external interference. Reports of unusual presence earlier in the evening were re-examined. These reports suggested possible activity near the property before the fire. However, no direct identification was established. Communication failure during the incident remained unresolved. This limited the ability to confirm response timing. Investigators began evaluating potential sabotage scenarios. No physical evidence directly confirmed intentional ignition. Each theory addressed part of the sequence, but not all. The investigation remained divided across competing explanations. Investigators evaluated the accidental fire theory against all available evidence. The fire intensity did not fully account for the absence of remains. This created a conflict within the primary explanation. The survival theory was then examined in greater detail. This required individuals exiting the structure during the incident. No confirmed witness reported such movement. The timeline did not support a clear exit sequence. The communication failure limited real-time observation. The sabotage theory introduced the possibility of intentional cause. Reports of unusual presence were reviewed under this framework. However, no direct evidence linked those reports to ignition. The lack of physical evidence weakened this theory. Each explanation addressed specific elements of the case. However, none accounted for the entire sequence.
The absence of remains remained the central contradiction. The delayed emergency response introduced additional uncertainty. This affected reconstruction of the timeline. The lack of verified movement created a critical gap. Investigators were left with incomplete sequences across all theories. No single theory could be confirmed or fully dismissed. The investigation reached a point where all primary explanations had been evaluated. The accidental fire theory could not account for the absence of remains. The survival theory required an exit sequence that was never observed. No verified movement supported that scenario. The sabotage theory introduced intent but lacked physical confirmation. No direct evidence linked any individual to the ignition. The communication failure remained unresolved. This delayed the emergency response and limited observation. Witness reports provided partial information but lacked consistency. No account fully aligned with the physical evidence. The structure of the timeline remained incomplete. Key moments between ignition and aftermath were not documented. The absence of remains remained the central anomaly. This contradicted expected outcomes in similar incidents. Investigators could not establish a continuous sequence of events. Each theory explained specific elements, but not the entire case. No single narrative could be confirmed. The lack of physical evidence prevented definitive conclusions. The missing sequence remained unresolved. The case continues due to that critical gap.